presenting the Brick House Podcast. The Brick House. Here comes the boom.
What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Brick House Podcast. My name's Matthew Brick, and today's a good day. I'm excited for this episode. Today is Tuesday, a little more towards the afternoon. Piper here had school, so we had to wait a little bit, but I'm here with someone really special. I just said her name, but I'm here with Piper J. Morris. How are you?
I'm so good, Matthew. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
Yeah.
I went on a bike ride today. I'm not currently in school. I'm on spring break, so I'm just living it up.
Yeah.
Actually, a lot of time has just lately been spending time in reflection.
Mm.
Both my brothers are at school, so I'm really just home alone.
Yeah.
I've been like trying to fill some time with what am I gonna do?
Yeah.
But I'm good.
That's
So
good. I'm glad.
how are you?
I'm good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just in a season of gratitude, I'd say. I feel like there's just so much moving in the church, out of the church, in our community of people that we've just been starting to get closer to. I feel like coming down from retreat, there's just something that's like lit on fire in this like army of people that we've found. And it's really cool that just like a month ago, you guys were invited in, you Park Meadows kids
Oh yeah.
came to hang out with us one morning, and like it's just been an uphill climb from there. I don't know. I'm very grateful and just like now just intentionally chasing my faith and like where God is calling me and what I'm supposed to be doing in this season of life. So yeah, I'm excited to be here.
As you guys, we've been in this episode for 30 seconds already, and you can see that she's legit, she's ready, and I'm super excited to have Piper here. So, would you mind just kind of like telling us a little bit about yourself for people who are listening or watching,
Yeah.
and so they can kind of get to know you a little better?
My name is Piper Jill Morris. We use full names here.
Oh yeah.
I am a junior at Colorado Academy, and I've been going there since pre-K, so gotten pretty used to that environment. I'm a worship leader on Wednesday nights at Red Rocks Youth, Littleton Campus. I also do student leadership there. Been a student leader since freshman year. Yeah, freshman year. I serve at kids there too. I love to serve in the church. That's kind of just my heart as a servant is definitely in the church. And I play lacrosse. I'm a lacrosse player. I'm a defender. Just got out of lacrosse practice, actually. That's why it's a little bit later right now.
That's all right.
Yeah, that's about it about me. I don't know. Nothing
Well,
crazy.
as we continue, we'll see that there's more layers than one, or like more dig deeper. But yeah, no, that's cool. That's surface level. Now we can go a little deeper.
Now we'll get deeper. Yeah, we will.
Exactly. Why don't we just first start off with like, you said that you're in this space of just like feeling fire, or like,
Yeah.
just like you said, coming down from retreat. You might hear that in either in this episode or last episode. I was talking about retreat a little bit. We recently went on a retreat. You could tell us a little bit about that, but also just like where. So now they kind of see where we're coming from.
Yeah.
Where are you in your faith right now? Like, you seem motivated. So kind of share like why is that? What's going on?
I feel like the way events have happened in my life recently and the way I've been kind of stripped of people, of relationships, whatever it is, it opened a door for me to just go like full dead sprint with God. I've been using this like analogy for so long about we're running like a marathon of life. And I feel like right now God is just calling me to sprint, but I'm not going to get tired. And I'm not just running through the motions and running through each mile marker that I reach. I'm being still. That was kind of what was put on my heart up at retreat. Was just this idea of being still, being patient, that, yeah, you're going to sit in this moment in a valley of darkness and you're going to be heartbroken for a little bit. You're going to be anxious. You're going to have these just like moments where you feel like God is not making a purpose out of it. And then you come to the other side, the light at the end of the tunnel, and it's just something so much more purposeful and so much more just incredible than you could ever imagine. It's crazy how God works. I can't even begin to fathom it. I'm in like complete awe of just what's been going on in my life and just being like, it's all God, all glory to God. Yeah, I don't know. We've already said it over and over again, but I'm just on fire for the Lord right now. And that was like,
Awesome.
that was what we kept talking about. It was crazy that we were at that retreat and I went to the back. I never go in the back, but Saturday night, I went to the back and came across one of our friends, prayed over him. And I used the idea of like, keep lighting this flame in his heart because he's on fire right now.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I started walking back down to the front and just stopped in a random row and turned to my right, and the only person in this row was you.
Oh, okay.
Do you remember this?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. And
Okay.
you were just worshiping, doing your own thing. And I kind of just sat there too. We were both just kind of doing our own thing. And then Ethan came on and started talking about this like revival, and I was like, oh, they better play like Goodbye Yesterday or like Let's Get Worship Going. And you're like, no, I like Wick. And then since then, I love that song. You put me on that song.
Okay.
But I don't know. There's just something about a flame and fire that's just happening in our like group of people.
Well, yeah, it's so powerful.
Yeah.
Because like a fire, it started by like a little spark, a little ember,
Yeah.
and then it grows into this fire, and fire is contagious. It doesn't stay where it is, and it just grows.
Yeah. And I feel like because of that, also praying, I could not tell you the words because it wasn't my words, it was God's. But when I was praying over our friend, I remember saying to him before I did, I was like, I want you to know that your heart for the Lord and the way it is lit on fire is so contagious. I'm just restating what you just said, but just this idea of like contagious faith, and that we are all pursuing God in such different ways. We're all being called to lead in different ways, but somehow we are also like encouraging each other and like fighting with each other, fighting for each other. I don't know. There's just something so beautiful in it, and that like I don't even know. And once our spark starts to kind of like fizzle out in a season of life, someone else's flame will just like pour into us and light us up.
That's so true. Heck yeah. Because sometimes I'm feeling like awesome and on fire, and then sometimes I feel like I'm the one who needs to be poured into, and
Right.
I feel like it's a day-to-day thing, but it's real. It's real.
And we can't get caught up on the fact that like maybe yesterday I was so on fire and so on top of the world, like God was answering all my prayers, all my calls that I was, all my questions that I was asking in the past days before that. And then like the next day, if something happens and I get broken apart, if I get torn down, if I get put in a valley, I shouldn't get stuck on the fact that like, wait, I should still be like on fire. I should be at the top of this mountain. Like each season comes on its own. We can weep for tonight. There will be joy in the morning. Like God creates new days for new miracles and new mercies, and we just got to keep following.
Sheesh. Oh my goodness. I don't have to do anything. Just let Piper talk. No, really,
No,
like,
please, no.
it's awesome. Because me coming into this episode, I can just be authentic with you guys.
Yeah.
Coming into this episode, I don't know why, but I'm just feeling kind of like tired. It's been a long day for me. But this is like already so much of like a fresh air, like such a like a recharge. So truly appreciative for this. Yeah, why don't you kind of take us back a little bit? How did you grow up into faith? How did that all start? Kind of like what brought you to where you are now?
Yeah. I grew up in a house that was full, that was loving, that was just like, I could not picture a better childhood for myself, and I'm so grateful for that. I did not grow up in a house of faith. We didn't go to church on Sunday mornings. We didn't, do any of that stuff. There was no religion in my house. But I feel like that almost opened the opportunity more for me to find a relationship with God when he was calling me to. And actually, the first time I ever stepped foot into church, the first time I ever like had anything to do with God in any way was just getting invited to Red Rocks Youth 7th grade by a simple friend that I met through lacrosse. And it's crazy to me that like if I hadn't started club lacrosse, this first friend that I met ever, like the first person I met on my team, she invites me to youth 2 years later. Like it's just crazy how little things happen and we don't realize what it will do later on in our lives. But I don't know, I was definitely at youth at first. I was definitely part of that crowd that was just like wanted to socialize. Like, I didn't understand. I didn't know the purpose of youth and what was moving in that room yet. I couldn't feel it. I couldn't sense it. And I just kept going. I was interested. I was definitely interested, and I was curious in what it was and what the church was. And there was like something so moving about Red Rocks that you don't really like come across a lot in churches. It's authentic, it's real, it's big, it's loud. It's so loud. Um I don't know. It's definitely just a different way to worship God and see the glory of God. And yeah, I just kept showing up. 8th grade, I was in a girls group. There were 40 of us at this point. We would have to like split off into
Shoot.
smaller circles. Yeah. And if you don't go to youth, you don't understand that that's a lot of people. Like I think nowadays we average like 3 people in my junior girls room. But
Yes.
yes. Tiny but mighty. But
Exactly.
yeah, I was sitting, it's like 8th grade. I was sitting in this group and we went around and we were like, just say your name and say one little like hidden talent that nobody knows about you. And I was like, hi, I'm Piper, Jill Morris, and I sing and play guitar. And then one of my leaders who was on worship, who is a worship leader, was like, why don't you come to worship? And since then, she was selflessly fighting for me because there were no students at the time that were on worship. And this isn't me being like, because I got put on worship, like I did everything. It wasn't me, it was God, knowing that like there's a movement in our youth and in our generation that can lead in such a pure, authentic, like lit up way. And the fact that God called little 8th grade me to start shadowing and then freshman year to start worship, like there's just something so beautiful in that. And I'm just so grateful for it because there was always something about singing and playing guitar. And now I write my own songs. And now I'm just like purposefully, intentionally like using that voice that I have to praise God.
Wow.
Yeah, I got baptized May 2023. Yes, 2023.
So not that long ago.
Not that long ago.
Yeah. I got baptized that same year.
Really?
It was November 12th. It was the second baptism
Yeah.
of Red Rocks that year.
Yeah, and then I was in like the spring one. Wow,
Yeah.
what are the odds?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I got baptized then. Just felt like I was being shown that I'm like a joy and I'm a light and that God is calling me to higher to use that more purposely for his just his glory and his goodness. So I just kept coming. I kept getting invested. I got told by Maddie Mexico to sign up for leadership and I did. And now I've also been like a natural born leader, I feel like, since as long as I can remember. I've always kind of been more on the feisty side of things and I'm loud, if you know me. Like I speak my voice and I sometimes explain myself till I'm blue in the face, which is a good and bad thing. But now I'm just using it in a way that God has called me to. I feel like I lead people and I express myself and I am not shy to publicly admit that I am a daughter of Christ, and that how he has saved me. So
That's awesome. How long? Well, I think it's so cool. So I have never actually seen her sing, but now that, well, she spent some time talking about it, I'm gonna have to go and listen. So wait, how long have you been playing the guitar for?
I took like 2 or 3 lessons in like 1st grade, but
Yeah.
my hands were so small that I couldn't play the guitar.
Yeah.
And then during COVID in like 6th grade, I found the guitar in the back of my closet, pulled it out, taught myself a bunch of things, and then I've just been playing
Wow.
ever since. Yeah.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
I'm not musically inclined. No, but I think that's really cool. And so just throughout these last few minutes, we've been talking about you've even used the word calling. You
Yeah.
even said that. And so I guess, and then you talked about music.
Mhm.
Would you say that's something that that you have a passion for and like that is what you might want to be doing in life?
In a perfect world, like that is my dream thing to do. I've actually talked to one of our friends about it. It's like, I feel like if there was no chance to fail and there was no, like if I couldn't fail, I would 1,000% go and release my music. And I would go and use that, not talent, but just use that thing that I have that I can like write in a poetry form type of way and express just my seasons of life that I've endured. The love songs, the heartbreak songs, all of it. And then where God moved. Because
Yeah.
that's like the theme is like, yeah, I went through this, but look how God moved. Now I'm at peace. And like, yeah, I feel like I would love to do that, but in a realistic world, that is very hard to do. So I'm a little held back. You know what I mean? I'm a little like,
What is stopping you, or what do you think that would stop you from doing that?
It's a hard thing to get going. Like, I
Mm,
don't know how to explain it. I just feel like, yeah, I would love to. I would love to. It's just also, am I like, would I be supported by my family? Would I be supported? Like I said, my family is so put together. My parents are together. My parents are in love. My parents love me and my older sister. Like, there's nothing broken about my family, which I'm so grateful for. That's also why I didn't think I needed faith in the first place. Like, before I had a relationship with God, I was like, I see all these people around me that are just like broken and divorced parents and just like broken households and just like drug and alcohol addiction and like whatever it is. And I didn't think that I needed it.
yeah.
But now flipping the script, flipping it and turning it kind of around, like God blessed me with such a full, loving family before I even knew him, and that's
Mhm.
just something so special. But anyway, sorry, that was a quick
No,
little
that's interesting.
side note.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So wait, so well, so you say your parents like that? I actually, that's really interesting to me. Just like, I don't know. I've never heard someone kind of say it that way, but it's like it almost seemed like everything was put together in the first place that you wouldn't even need God. I never, that's really interesting. So like, but if like let's say you were to pursue music and if like let's say you wanted to sing about Jesus
Yeah.
or maybe not, but like would your parents support you? Or when you mean they're not like religious, like do you mean that like they have like a like, they just don't spend their time doing it, or do they actively like or they like they don't associate with it? They're like, nah, that ain't us. We can't do that.
Well, okay, I'm gonna steal this. No, I'm gonna apply it from retreat, but um they are interested, they're just not
Okay.
invested in the way that I am. And I was the one in my family that kind of started out like pursuing God and following this faith that I've been called into. And my sister then started coming to church with me, and she started like
Well,
becoming friends with a lot of my church friends and my leadership friends. Um and then my dad started coming to church with us, and now he goes to church with our next door neighbor all the time, and I think it's the sweetest thing ever. And then my mom and I always have very open conversations. She just lets me like yap about God. Like when
okay.
I came back down from retreat, I swear we talked in our kitchen for like 3 hours straight just
Hmm.
about God, and never have I had such a also like purposeful conversation with her in that way. It just seems like her heart is starting to open more and more to it, which is just so like glory to God that it says it somewhere in scripture, but how age doesn't define your wisdom.
Mm.
Like I could be the youngest of my entire family, which I am, and I still got called by God to not only come follow the faith that he has for me and what he has in store for me, but to then lead my family into that
Wow.
too. Um yeah.
That's encouraging, definitely. She's awesome. It's encouraging for me because I was just having a conversation with my mom before this episode, but
Mhm.
I just everywhere it seems like I can't, and it's not for me. Like I know I can't do anything like in the fact of like changing my family's hearts. Like that can only be God.
Yeah.
Um, my parents support me, but I just really feel like I'm misunderstood.
Mm.
And if my parents are watching or listening, but it's just like, yeah, I feel like I can't connect with them. Like
Right.
I feel like when I speak about my faith, it's just like it's not like they're like don't talk about your faith. They just it doesn't seem like it connects with them, you know?
Right.
But so this is really encouraging. Thank you. I appreciate it.
And don't, yes, of course, but don't get me wrong. Like, I've had moments where I'm trying to express something that has moved or how worship was or whatever it is to my mom or to my dad or to my sister. Well, it's my sister, but my mom and my dad. And sometimes they'll respond or like say something, and I'm just like it's not clicking. Like, I don't know if this is like, so I also have those moments. Like, you're not the only one that struggles with
Yeah.
that. Don't worry. But
I wish they threw youth for parents.
yes.
Like it would be well, it is hard. Like so it's hard for parents to understand because they've never experienced.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not mad at it, but I do think yeah, anytime there's a disconnect, it's because they haven't experienced something. Or if they're like for instance, why is it when we're young our parents say don't do that and
Mm.
we don't listen? It's because we don't have the perspective of like, oh, we haven't experienced what they've experienced. And so in the same way, I could talk all I want about like how good, like, and how God moved.
Mm-hmm.
But if they haven't experienced that, and like, let's just take a youth setting, for example, if they haven't been in that, they won't understand it. But yeah, I wonder what it'd be cool. I wonder, like, you know, maybe if your parents one day like came to youth and watched you
Yeah.
worship,
Yeah.
that would be legit.
My mom, that would be like
That'd be legit.
crazy. I feel like, because my mom always asks for like the live recording, like,
Mhm.
because we have access to like the live stream of it, and I'll send it to her and she'll watch and she'll be like, just played this back a billion times, like, so proud of you. And I'm like, also, it's not about me. And I've like went through that
Mhm.
process of like, what is worship? And worship is just obedience in the moment that you're in with God. It's just listening to how God is calling you to praise him, whether it's putting your hands in the air or it's jumping around and spinning in circles or it's falling on the floor on your knees. Like, it's just a moment of you and God and all gaze, all focus. Like, I've said it a billion times and I've prayed this before stepping on stage, because I want to be worshiping God, whether in the same way, whether I'm on stage, off stage, backstage, wherever it is, and I'm like, make a silhouette of my body, like put a spotlight behind me so nobody can even see who I am, because it is not about me. Like, take my presence out of it and replace it with yours, because it really does have nothing to do with me. But also, yes, to be able to lead my parents in that way in worship and to show them what worship is a very crazy thing that I've been called to. Like, yeah, that would be insane.
I've been told, so I'll go to it in just a second, but I've been told that worship, like people worship, like why there's worship leaders or whatever. It's
Yeah.
just simply like people on stage giving like direction in that moment, like basically
Yes.
setting and you would know more than me. I don't know. So tell me if I'm wrong, but it's like setting a space, basically like being the first one to open up the space for God, like for God to move. And so like if it's by you guys singing and worshiping, and then it allows us who
Yeah.
are in the audience or whatever to truly like, it's like you guys open the door and then
Yeah.
God floods in.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that. I like that.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
agree with you. No. You can keep going. Keep going.
All right, and then what I was gonna say is during I have one time experience being on the stage, one time quote unquote worshiping in front of everyone, which was amazing, but they didn't mic me up because but this past Christmas Eve, for the 3 services they had a choir
Yeah.
and they had me up there and it was so much fun. Yeah.
Cool. It was so fun.
Well, yeah, no, it was like a life experience. Like,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, it felt so good. Like, it felt like in that moment, like just being up there. I mean, like it felt good for like confidence reasons, like getting up there and not being ashamed and like just
Yeah.
being totally like. I just remember having so much fun, and I didn't care what anyone thought.
Yeah.
But then also, it was like in that moment, it actually felt like by my energy. Actually, I was told afterwards that like people started they said my energy was like contagious. It was like they saw me up there
Mhm.
worshiping and then they were able to worship more freely. Which was just like an awesome experience. And so I can say I was up there for a day worshiping on stage.
Good job.
Boom.
Boom.
Yeah, so
No, I agree with every single last thing you just said, because it totally is a way to open a door and to let God just do the rest, almost to come in and just like, I feel like we're not the lightning strike that is coming down and raining on all these people, but we're the conduit, which is like, if you don't know what a conduit is, it's like the thing that goes on top of a house and then the lightning strikes and it like moves it so your house doesn't get destroyed. So we're being called to be these conduits for worship, to let worship into this house of God and to and let him do the rest. And the way you said that your energy is contagious, like the Holy Spirit moves through you and then it just shines and it just like it does. And I feel like that is what worship is God just using you to move through other people. And that's what leading is too, is realizing that, being humble in heart. I think that's like the first quality of a leader is humbleness, and knowing that you are still even when you're called to be up on this like more like of a podium to lead people, you are still a part of that crowd, or else you won't gain their respect, and not even respect, you just won't be. It just humbleness matters when it comes to being a leader. And if you think it's all about you, and if you think that you're accomplishing something because you are leading, especially in worship, but wherever you're going in the church, whether it's student leadership, whether it's whatever it is, preaching a message, if you think it's about you, God has no way to open that door. God moves when you take yourself out of the picture, almost like step back out of your body and let God move you where you're meant to move. That's why I was saying it's obedience in the moment, in the here and now. It's not about what next note we're singing. It's not about what, like, the next step or the next hand, like the next time we're going to raise our hands in the air. It's just about the here and now, where my feet are in that exact moment.
Yeah, that's awesome. You said leadership. You've brought this idea of leader. Who in your life, like who do you go to? I know so much in my life. It feels like my faith is, well, for me, I mean, I think God did it long before I knew it, but now I intentionally seek out people to follow. Like I
Yeah.
have a mentor. He's been like my mentor for about a year now.
Mhm.
And him and me, he says like he pours into me and I pour into him. And so who do you go to, or is there a person that you look up to, like a role model, or like who defines this leadership that you've been talking about? Like who do you go
Yeah.
to if you have someone?
Yeah, can I like shout out names too? Like, is that
Oh yeah, sure.
good? Okay. I would say definitely start. It's cool because also I feel like your mentors change with every season of your life. And I was talking to one of my leaders, Gianna, about this, how there was a time where I needed her because she had so much wisdom about something I was going through. But then another time, 3 months later, I really needed Maddie Mexico to pour into me or whatever it was. So I feel like it does change, but I feel like the constants that are always there. Amy is the one who originally got me into worship, that leader I was talking about earlier
Okay.
in the podcast, where 8th grade, she's like, why don't you come up and worship with us? Like, why don't you be a worship leader? It was her, and she's selfless. And that's also where I see a big quality of a leader is it's not, she 1,000 times over thinks, never has ever thought it's about her at all.
Yeah.
And she fights for what she loves, and she fights for the people she loves. And there's something so graceful about the way she leads worship that I was definitely inspired by, especially in my earlier years of worship. I also feel like Maddie, I've said her name a few times now, but Maddie Mexico, she's the Littleton Campus middle school pastor now, but she was just the overall pastor for a while for youth. And she was the one that originally also said to me, like, you don't think you need this relationship with God because you've already been so full and you don't need healing from anything. But doesn't that mean God has already healed you from the start? From the second you came out of the womb, like, you've had a full life, and that's something that you should just thank God for. You don't need to always ask God for things. You don't need to ask God for healing in order to have a relationship for him. There are seasons of gratitude where just everything is at a high, and that's like you praising God for what he's answered in the past. So Maddie also, for sure.
That's awesome. Maddie Mexico is such a like cool name.
Maddie Mexico? I
That
know.
seems like so.
Madeline Marie Mexico is her full name.
That's Sigma.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Sigma.
Oh, it is. It is.
Yeah.
It's aura. But that's awesome. And then where you can continue, or you.
I mean, those are like the constants.
Yeah.
Obviously, Ethan has
Okay.
showed me also it's okay to be real and raw. You don't think you have to have this complex of just being like a perfect straight through Christian. Like, he will go up on stage and talk about how he pooped his pants and how
Yeah.
he got bed bugs, and he doesn't care.
Yeah.
Like, and when we're in leadership too, student leadership, he is so real with us. He's like a friend to us.
Yeah.
So being a leader is also being a friend.
Being a friend. Yeah,
Being a
walking
friend.
with people.
Yeah.
So we talked about just right now authenticity.
Yeah.
Would you mind kind of just sharing a little bit of like, I think you said right now you're in a season of gratitude, and that's awesome. And one thing I'm learning is, for me, I wouldn't say like I'm all high, or like
Yeah.
I'm not all like I feel. I'm definitely not high, but I mean it in the sense of like it doesn't feel like I'm just walking on cloud nine.
Yeah.
Like I feel like, if I'm gonna be honest, I feel kind of like stale. But like,
Okay.
but I still feel like you can find gratitude in those moments. Like that's one thing I realize. I feel like gratitude is like something that a follower of Christ should have regardless of what you're going through.
Yes. Yeah.
But if you'd be willing, like kind of share like moments in your faith, or like even times that God has moved, but just so that people can kind of understand a little more of just like what have been some of like the hard seasons in your walk, you know? Yeah, if you could share like just maybe a few experiences of
Yeah.
like I need God, like I think that's just what makes it so well, like almost like you've shared a little bit of your testimony,
Yeah.
but where has God moved in maybe times where you felt like he wasn't gonna move,
Yeah.
if you have any?
Right. Yeah, I definitely do. First of all, I want to say I love that it's inspiring too, but that perspective that you have of like, even if we're in a low season, look at how God has moved. Like, let's say you were in a season in the past where you were just at a low and there was something going on that you just needed healing and guidance from God. Don't forget about that also when you're at the top of the mountain, like full of gratitude, full of just like, I don't need God anymore. People say it all the time in the church, but just like God is greater than the highs and the lows. And if you forget about him when you're at a high, then that is not faith. Like he follows you wherever you go. And that is a time where you should be like, well, look at what you've done for me. And if you're in a low again, hold on to those moments where God has already healed and look back at what you've prayed over in the past, far away or more recent. Like God is always moving in a season of life. You just have to look for it. So I love that you said that. I would say for those type of moments for me, I'm gonna get real
Let's do it.
vulnerable.
Let's do it.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I 2 months ago went through a breakup and I'd been dating him for 2 years. And um I went through so many emotions. I can't even describe all of them that were flowing through my head. It was healthy at first, then I regretted it. And then I was like, am I doing the right thing? I kept turning around and trying to figure out if what I had done was the right thing. And then I started checking the calendar, kept checking the dates, and I uh kept counting up the days that since it had happened. And I was like, I remember so vividly. I saw it and I was like, it's been 20 days since we broke up. And I was like, how has it been that long? Like time is fleeting and it is not waiting up for my emotions. And I was angry. I was in such a season of anger. And that's when you guys first started showing up to Bible study. And I definitely mentioned it a few times, being like, I hate time. I'm so impatient right now. I just want to turn back around and go backwards. But while you are in a tunnel and you're looking at the light that is up there, no matter how far away it is, there's a light up there. If you turn around too early, you're never going to reach it. God has something so much bigger planned for you, and you will get there. There, the windshield is bigger than the rearview mirror for a reason.
Yeah.
That's where that came from. We were talking on Saturday at my retreat. There's a story anyway. But I love that he used that and preached the house down with it. But anyway, yeah, I feel like sorry.
No.
And I was for so long just looking in the rearview mirror and being like, it keeps getting further and further away. Like, do I just turn back? I need to turn back around. And then for 2 seconds at worship night about a month ago, and then at night to shine when we were serving, and then at Bible study the next morning when you guys first showed up, all of those moments were me just quickly glimpsing into the windshield and being like, there's a light there. Like, should I just keep going? And then I finally realized I am focusing on the completely wrong thing. I'm focusing on what has happened instead of what God will do with it. And I kept moving forward and I kept going and I kept purposefully serving and hanging out with people that have been gifted to me through the church, through Christ. And I kept pursuing that. And then retreat happened. And I was so grateful for this group that we have made. And I am now grateful. And I never thought I would say that. I'm grateful for my heartbreak that happened 2 months ago, because if it wasn't for that, I'd be feeling guilty walking into Bible studies. I'd be feeling like I'm not meant to be there. I wouldn't be as present because there'd be something in the back of my mind telling me I shouldn't be there. God took this person out of my life because they were moving me back to a light jog in my faith when I was so ready to sprint. And now I'm sprinting, and that's why I'm on fire. And
That's awesome.
God moves, and all you have to do is just sit in the darkness to know that there is a light that will eventually reach you, that you will eventually reach. But don't get too ahead of yourself. Don't trip over your own feet, because God will turn the page when you're ready. God will continue to write this poetry on this page, sad, happy, whatever it is, and he will turn the page when he's ready for you to move on to the next thing.
Wow. Heck yeah. And you might have already said something like this, but what would be something, I think like for me, I oftentimes like all I want to be is the light that I wish that I had in certain moments, or people say, Matthew, you're an encourager. And like what I do with that, when people have said that to me, I think back, it's just because that's all I've wanted in my life, someone to encourage me. And so my question is, what is something that you wish that someone, or like, what could you say now to people that you wish that someone would have said to you, or even do, or like something like that?
I don't know why I just thought of this, but going back to retreat, it's
Yeah.
not the basis of our faith, but it is something that happened that we're still kind of processing and like
Yeah.
not recovering from, but just, something that's still going on in our brains. And I would say, when you said like something that you wish someone would have said to you in your
Yeah.
past, I go straight back to little Piper when she was at retreat for the first time in 7th or 8th grade, or when I was in that room raising my hand for Jesus the first time and feeling like all the big kids in the front, all the big kids that were walking around at retreat, I was intimidated. And I feel like this retreat, there was a reason that they became combined again, because we were supposed to go up on different weekends. And I feel like there's a reason that middle school joined high school retreat. And it moved for me too, because there was a sweet little girl, middle school girl, and she was having a very hard moment of anxiety. And one of her leaders came over and was like, "You guys know her big sister, right? Because she's a senior, and I know her really well, and whatever." And we were like, "Yeah." And she was like, "Her little sister is just having a moment right now. Can you guys just call her?" And we were like, "Sure, great." So we called her, and I'm like, "Okay, we can stand here, stand still, and just call her and continue to shop in this gift shop, or like maybe I should take action." And I was like feeling like drawn to just put whatever I was doing down and just go. And I went over to her, and there was a wall and a complex that was broken in one of those little moments that was just like, there is no difference. And I already said it before, but there's no change in wisdom between this younger middle school girl and me who's almost like reaching my senior year of high school. Like, we can still connect and we can still praise God in the same way. And the fact that she was so, and then I saw her the Wednesday after
Yeah.
youth, and I was leading worship, and I was on like her side of the room that she was in front row, and I was just so hyped to see her. I was
Yeah.
like, it's just so crazy how God moves, that she's just like almost bouncing off the walls,
Yeah.
so amazed by how God works. But just that moment of praying over her and then seeing her the next morning and coming over to her table at breakfast and being like, "I want to say I'm proud of all of you guys. Like, we are leaders also for the younger kiddos, and I want to be able to tell younger me," going back to your question, sorry, I
Yeah.
totally got off topic, but going back to that question, I want to be able to tell my younger self that you are not too young to be worshiping God. Your age does not change how God is calling you and how strong your faith is. I feel like for so long I was also intimidated in the fact that I was being called to worship and being fought for in worship by such an older, she's like 20, but still by someone that's way older and has had that experience for a very long time. Um, and I felt like, am I worthy to be here? Am I supposed to be this like loud in my faith? This like role of a leader? Yeah, you're not too young to be doing that.
Wow. Yeah. I think that's really encouraging. And I mean, I don't know what to think. I just, like I said, I really do get this like presence of just like joy from you. And I think, if I'm gonna be honest, I think we go through what we go through, or we just like, this is what comes to my mind after hearing that. I really believe that the way that people have been there for you in your life and what you're going through right now, and like you even said during retreat, you were able to be there for that girl. I think so much of our faith isn't meant to be, it's not just done for us, but it's done in us, and so that it can what go and affect those around us.
Yeah.
Like, how do I put it? When Jesus transforms your life, it doesn't stop there. It
Yeah.
goes and reaches everyone that's around you and associated with you, because people see that change. And so, if I'm gonna be honest, I feel like you're working from this abundance, and I feel like it's all I can think of is like, if you were to pour a cup over, or a thing of water into this cup, and you put a cup under that cup, what does that do? If water's just continuing to flow, it will overfill the cup on the top and pour into the one below. And I believe, I think what you're going through, and I think I just like I see it that like, and you've said this before, leader, but I get the picture that you will be like what pouring into other people. Specifically, like I just think that like you're gonna there's no coincidence that you already have had like something like this with that one person, and it's just awesome to see. But I think because like that's so much of what I want. I want to work from this idea that God did something in my life, and now I want to go and quote unquote mentor or whatever. Like I just want to go now instill what someone's done in me and go and give it to someone else. I think of like Elijah and Elisha. Elijah did miracles, and then he says to Elisha, "You will like double everything that I did." And if you were to actually I was told this by someone, but if you actually tally up the amount of miracles that Elisha does to Elijah, he does exactly double of what Elijah does. And I think honestly, that's what I believe. Like our faith isn't to stick with us and stay in us, and it just multiplies. And I don't know.
It's contagious faith. We're called to go make disciples. Like we're called to go do that. And we don't have to constantly think, all right, like I found you, God, now let me go out and pour into everybody else. That was something that was in my heart about retreat. I didn't know if my cup was half empty or half full. I didn't know if I had enough to pour into somebody or didn't have enough that I needed to be poured into. And I thought it had to be one or the other. But then I realized the people that I found along the way and the people that have guided me and helped just light my spark of flame are there for me as a home base and as a refuge. And I can fall back into them. They will fill me up, and then I go out and I go and pour into people. I go and pray because I have that cup that is so full that it just overflows.
And that's awesome.
That
is awesome. Something that I feel like God is pointing me into is this, and not like you shouldn't go and pour into everyone. I think you should. But for me, and like I said, like I feel like today this podcast is just so much of like a recharge, because I feel like I'm working from just tiredness. But I feel like so much of in my faith, I feel like I've given, and I feel like right now I'm just in a season of like either being poured into, or I feel called to like selective, or I would just say like being wise in who I pour my energy into. Because if I'm gonna be honest, like I feel like some people might not really relate with this, but I feel like a lot, and I don't mean to. I just am trying to like let you guys in onto where I'm at right now. I'm not trying to take away with what Piper said, but I believe that like I feel like right now, I feel like I've given so much, and I feel like it's just like something God's calling me into is like be wise on who I pour myself to, who I'm gonna be authentic to. Because if I'm gonna be honest, like I went to retreat thinking, oh, I'm so spiritually exhausted. And I did feel recharged during retreat, but if I'm gonna be honest, like I just still feel a sense of tiredness. Like I feel like I can have moments of just like pure fun and happiness and joy. And I don't think joy, like that's why there's a difference of happiness and joy, because you can have joy and still be not quote unquote happy, I think. But yeah, if I'm gonna be honest, I feel like I'm right now very spiritually like tired. And so that's why it's like it's awesome hearing what you have to say, and it's encouraging. And you might have said something about it, but like how our fire, how our faith can, like right now, Piper, it seems like your faith is just on fire, and maybe mine is a little more, it's not burnt out, but it might be tired. And like what's cool is like when you're surrounded by the people, you said home base, you said refuge, like what's cool is like we can share each other's faith, you know? And like you can almost be someone's fire. Like I think of like if you take a lighter and then you put the lighter to the flame, what does that do? For that person's flame who's maybe this small, it grows. And that's what I'm trying to do. And so I really do think like just even if today's purpose for me was to surround myself by you and be encouraged by you. And that's why I think so much of what you're saying right now can be an encouragement and be a light for people who are listening or watching. Because I know it is for me. And I'm not trying to like overly compliment, but like truly before going into today's episode, I've been so tired, and I needed something like this. So thank you. Yeah.
Well, thank you, because I feel like I'm just searching for these like intentional
Mhm.
conversations I get to have with people of faith and people that God has just like brought into my life in such crazy ways. And like tomorrow night is Wednesday night and I can't go to youth and I'm really sad about it because
Mhm.
I have a game and it like sucks for me because I'm like I want to be able to spend time with my people, with God in worship, and to then be able to have this conversation and be able to just like spend a Tuesday night just talking about God and our testimonies and learning more about each other.
Yeah.
It's purposeful and it's like, um, what did you say? I have also I've been going through like waves of just like I'm so down in the dumps. Like so I had a terrible day yesterday and I was just so tired also. And then I couldn't stop smiling all day today. Don't know why. I was just
Yeah.
so just grateful to be alive.
Mm.
And the fact that I had a moment yesterday, but then come here today, and then you're having a moment that was similar to mine yesterday, and I'm just like coming out of it and I'm pouring into
Yeah.
you. Then tomorrow you'll pour into someone else and you'll just
Yeah.
keep going and going. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
What is your biggest, like, I don't know, dream? What is something and we might have talked about it, music and like passion
Yeah.
and like worship. But what is maybe something that someone doesn't know a lot about Piper? Like, what is something that you enjoy or you want to do? Like, for me, I want to go like, if I could, I'd love to live in a van for a little while.
Mm.
I don't know if everyone knows that about me. So, like, is there something in your life that, you have kind of like a dream or a desire to do something, but maybe not everyone knows?
Shoot, well, I've been like talking
Yeah.
about it like this whole time. I feel like I have a heart for worship and I have a heart
Okay.
that sings and I have a heart that's feisty. I
Yeah.
feel like I'm just very passionate about what I fight for and I want to make sure I get my point across every time. And that's why I've kind of been interested in going into like law and going
Oh,
into
yeah. Oh, yeah.
and I was talking to one of our friends about this the other night, but being a defense attorney, and I quoted it that, and I said this in Bible study too,
Hmm.
being the like Jesus of the courtroom, and just like criminal justice, and being like a defendant of people who are still deemed clean in God's eyes and still deemed worthy as a child of God. And it says it somewhere in Acts, like don't judge what I have called clean. I feel like we're just so quick to judge and so quick to see one thing and then base someone's entire personality and identity off of one thing that they've done in the past. Um, and sometimes we have to have that heart, that soft heart that Jesus has, that like, no, they are still worthy. We are all imperfect, just trying to serve a perfect God. And I don't know, to be able to have an opportunity where I can almost like fight for that and see that side of them would be so
Yeah.
interesting. And that's almost like that's because like I said, it was like that's like the more realistic thing that I could
Yeah.
do. Because that's like a career, but that's also something that ties straight back to my faith. And that's what I love so much about it because I want to live out
Yeah.
my life purposefully how like God is seeing my potential and seeing what I can do with my life. I don't want to just like sit at a
Mm.
desk for the rest of my
Oh, yeah.
life
Yeah.
and you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, van life. Maybe that's the plan B. But I want to be able to like get active and I want to be able to use what God has deemed like my roots and my like five qualities and use it as like where I'm going with my
Mm.
life because I feel like I have a feisty heart. I fight for what I want. I'm a worshipful creation of God. I have a huge heart to serve. I'm a very big servant in the church. And then I've been I've been given the words joy and light in my life
Mhm.
that um I just have a purpose to be the happy sunshine girl and I want to continue to live that life.
That's awesome.
So it's not a very set in stone like
It's okay.
dream, but I can't just say like songs again. I can't say
Well,
music again.
here's what I'll encourage you on. I think why not do both or why not do many things?
Yeah.
You're not called to just one thing, I think. I think whatever you do and whatever God brings you to, you'll never like there will always be a part of you which was meant for worship. And especially maybe not even on this side of eternity. Think about on the other side of eternity. All we're going to be doing is worshiping.
Yeah.
Last night I had the opportunity to go to a all Spanish worship, which was amazing because for me, I have this like amazing curiosity and like desire. Like it's so cool. I think of like how heaven's gonna sound, and it's not gonna just be English.
Yeah.
It's gonna be so many languages, every
Yeah.
tribe, every language, just praising. And so I think it will be like you can do both and do a little here and a little that. And also, um, and not like anything wrong with what you said about just being this light and being this sunshine. My car's named Sunshine, so
Is it actually?
yeah.
What? That's a very fitting name.
I have an orange car.
Shocker.
Oh yeah,
Big
yeah.
shocker.
But and those are all really true things, and I believe it. But one thing that I feel like, and so maybe it's just me, and I don't want to project anything or anything, but maybe like my hope and prayer is that you don't always feel like you have to be. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because like for me, I think at least with my story, I feel like there was a point in my life where I also have been kind of deemed or been called, oh Matthew, you're just like so fun, or I don't know, like I think people have put labels on me about, even if they don't know it, which have kind of rocked me. They've like basically, it made me feel like if I'm not always my happy self, then I'm not getting it right. And at least that's just something I feel like I've struggled with, because like I feel like people have said, oh Matthew, you're just such a fun guy. You're so helpful, encouraging, whatever. But then there's been times where I haven't been able to do that because sometimes I don't want to always be like happy. Sometimes I just want to sit in sadness or whatever, which I think is all right. I don't know. But my hope is like just know, and maybe I'm wrong about this. I don't know if I'm right, but for me, I feel like if there does come a time where you feel, or maybe that's just because right now that's in the season that I'm in right now. It feels like I can't be happy-go-lucky all the time. And that's why I speak for, like, that's my heart right now. It's just like, if someone's like asking of something that I can't give, it feels tiresome. So that's just me.
And we're also like, we're such happy people that when, even for a second, we just like stare into space, or even for a second, we're just like not that completely like happy, joyful person. People are like, what's wrong with you? And then
Exactly.
it's like, get away from me. Just let me like have a moment where I don't have to be like a crazy, like, because I'm an outgoing person. I'm a friendly person too. And I agree with you 1,000%. We get caught up in that feeling like we're so obligated to be that way.
You seem to understand that. That's awesome.
I understand 1,000%. It's crazy that we like, I feel the exact same way. And I feel like I've done good at not thinking I'm obligated to.
That's awesome.
And just letting God move my heart and being able to know that like in my roots, I am a joy and I am a light, and that's great and that's good, but I don't always have to be.
Yeah.
I don't know, but thank you for like speaking that life into me. That just like,
I don't mean to like take away from the episode or anything, but yeah, that's awesome. I guess my last few thoughts. One, do you have any like anything you wanted to ask me? Like if you had like a question for me. If not, I don't know.
Well, I want to ask a question that got asked to me. Now it's gonna come on to you. If you couldn't fail, what is your biggest dream? Now we talked about van life, but
van life. Well, I think failure, and like this is hard, but I feel like failure is actually a part of success. Like I feel like you hear all these stories of like how I feel like, well, I have a picture in my room of Rocky Balboa, you know? I honestly think like anything worth fighting for, you know, sometimes there's loss, but like when we see a movie about the underdog, why is it so big and special? It's because they might have lost, but they get back up. And so I feel like I don't see myself like, well, I saw a Bruce Lee quote. It's like, Lord, don't give me an easy life, but give me the strength to endure a hard life. And why that I think speaks loud to me is because like I've heard, and I'm not trying to like get all philosophical, but I feel like for me, I am scared of failure, that like something that I know about myself is like, maybe it's good to fail because then you can find true success. But as far as what I'd like to do, if I could do anything, I just want to go, I want to do missions. I want to go see parts of the world, and see how like something about genuine worship, like you said, or genuine like happiness about God. I want to go to like Africa. I want to go to India. I want to go to all these places where like I see videos of like people who do have faith over there. Like
Mhm.
we hear stories about people who they go and see these small villages or whatever,
Yeah.
and they have nothing, and then they always say one thing. They always say, "These people are so happy, so grateful, so joy." And I just want to go experience stuff like that. I want to live a life full of adventure. I want
Mhm.
I want my life to live. I just want friends. I want community surrounded
Mhm.
by me.
Mhm.
Um, if I couldn't fail, I want a family. I just want to keep it going. I want
Mhm.
to have a little me, mini me,
Oh my
something
gosh.
like
Yeah.
that. I just want to have like, yeah. I mean, if I'm gonna be honest, I never find myself called to a specific job. If I was gonna be honest, I don't want to work. Uh,
Yeah, no, Val, that's so real.
I don't want to do a
Does
job.
anybody like let's be honest?
Some people like genuinely like work. I guess
Mhm.
I'd love to do something with ministry, but it doesn't mean I have to go be a pastor. I think we're all
Right.
pastors. But I just want to go experience like true faith now.
Yeah.
That's where my heart is. And I want to go see other parts of the world. I just want to go see. I feel like we live, I mean, if I'm going to be honest, we live in what? Like the same 15, 40, 50 mile radius.
Yeah, right.
I mean, people do go out, but I feel like, yeah, I really feel like, and this is 17-year-old me right now. Maybe when I'm older, I'll become more content. But one thing someone said, which really resonated with me, when we're in this stage of our life, what are we after? We're after experiences. And for
Mhm.
me, that's so true. So without any fear or worry, I just want to go experience things.
That's amazing. The most important part of life is our life right now. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I want to argue that like not what's to come, not what has
Mhm.
happened, because those things have happened. It's the experience that we're in right now. And like, I don't know, the fact that you said little 17-year-old me's like saying this right now, but that is you envisioning a active and adventurous faith. And that is so cool because that is the type of Christian you are. And I think that's so cool that you
Mm.
feel like a purpose to go explore that. But yeah, I feel like I don't know if I'm saying that because I'm in this season of just like being patient, being still, and knowing that God is moving, but we are in we are in a moment
Mm.
right now too. And that is like the most important thing right now. And like I think it is I'm
Thank
so
you. Yeah.
excited to see how God moves because that is
Yeah.
crazy. Like you're gonna go out and do amazing things and that's
That's
so
what I
cool.
hope. But yeah, I thank you for putting me into check a little bit. Like,
No, no, that's not what I was saying at all. And when I started saying it, I realized that's what I was saying. That's the
No,
opposite of what I was
well,
saying.
there is importance to being. I do find myself like, what? I'm a worrier, so I also
Me too.
worry about things that are in the
Mhm.
future, but I also like daydream. And
Yeah,
I feel
oh,
like
$1,000%.
when Elijah, the guy who runs the Bible study that
Yeah,
now I go, that Piper's been going to
yeah,
and whatnot, but he talked about presence, and I do think that's something that being more present, being more into right now, like you were just saying, it's
yeah.
definitely something I could like, probably live more life. I feel like I've done a good job, but I could for sure like live more presently for sure.
I'm a daydreamer too, and I'm almost like this is so similar to you. I'm very I experience something, I think of something, I meet someone, and I'm like I start to daydream too. Like
Yeah,
that
yeah,
is just like I feel like that's a human quality that a lot of people have, but it's not a bad thing.
yeah,
It's just you letting your heart move your mind, and that's so cool. Like
yeah.
yeah,
That's cool.
it's a good thing. But yeah, if we get too caught up in the daydreams, then we're gonna lose sight of like what's in front of us for sure. But
Yeah, last thing for me, I shared this on the last episode, but just so much of what my heart is right now, and I feel like God's showing me is let me get it. I'm reaching for my notebook. It's from the Bible, but I already wrote it down. I know the verse, I just don't know what it says
right,
exactly. Let's see.
right,
Let's cook. Okay. And you've heard this probably.
yeah.
Ecclesiastes 3:1. There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens.
Mm,
Yeah, I feel like God's saying, man, like so much of what you're going through is for a reason.
yeah,
Um, there's a purpose to every season, to everything. I just feel
yeah.
like, yeah, God's calling me into. I feel like I've spent a lot of time reflecting, and so, yeah, that's where I'm
Time,
at.
time, time isn't just fleeting; it's also finding you. Like
Hmm.
you're moving further and further away from things, but you're also getting closer to things that are going to happen to you. And you just have to sit in the moment knowing both of those things are true. If you get too caught up in the past or look too ahead and start daydreaming the future, you won't be still in the moment and be patient, knowing that everything under the sun that you are under currently right now is the season that you're meant to be in. And it's a season that has purpose and meaning.
Couldn't say it better. Heck yeah. I guess last thoughts. Unless you have something and you wanted to share something.
Well,
Yeah.
when you brought up
Okay.
scripture, you started talking. This is going
Yeah, let's
back.
do it. Let's do it.
Yeah. You said about how you want to be more purposeful and more like aware of where you're pouring into people and like who you're pouring into. And it brought me back to somewhere in Matthew 7, Matthew 10, Matthew.
Maybe say it and maybe I'll.
Yeah. Like when you find a place that is worthy for your peace, bring your peace there. If it's not worthy anymore, get up, dust off your feet, and keep moving.
It's probably Matthew. Well, he says that to his disciples, right? When he goes and tells them, go out in pairs of two, and if they receive you, go in, but if not, dust your feet. Is that kind of?
It is. It's like, yes, exactly. And I don't know. I just wanted to bring up scripture because I was going to say it, and I think I got sidetracked. So.
Heck yeah.
That's all I had. That was.
All right, one more thing and then one more thing. We've talked so much about worship and music.
Yeah.
What is your worship song, if you have a few or one?
Right now, Goodbye Yesterday. I love it so much. Such a good one. I feel like I've always loved At the Altar too.
Heck yeah.
It's like if we want to talk about like hype worship, Goodbye Yesterday. If we want to talk about getting down and just laying it all down to God, At the Altar. And then I feel like in this season of life, the song Slower I Go by SEU Worship.
Okay.
Take a listen if you haven't. But it's basically just saying like, it's just saying like the slower I go, the faster I rise with God. So that's obviously something like also just hearing about this talk that we just had. Like that's something that is definitely on my heart.
Heck yeah.
What is your worship song?
All right, yeah. Well, I'll always say that the music that brought me into worship was Zach Williams. You know him?
I think so. I definitely do.
Okay, I've been to like 4 of his concerts.
That's so cool.
Oh yeah. Previously before the podcast, we were talking just for a quite second of like how I do not like. I've only ever been to Christian concerts. Like that kind of can show you like if you were to ask me anything about like pop references or rap, I don't know anything about it. And that's not me because like I'm innocent. Like I generally didn't grow up listening to rap or anything like that. And then obviously I probably don't think my mom would have let me. But yeah, I've only ever been to Zach Williams concerts, which are like Christian concerts.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to a Forrest Frank concert this May.
That'll be so fun.
Yeah.
That's
but yeah, so Zach Williams, and I guess one of my favorite songs. There's so many, but like There Was Jesus, and then right now, well, this one came out a while, like 2 years ago, but it's still Looking for You. And there's a part of the song that's like, when I thought like everything that was supposed to fulfill me didn't. I didn't sing that right, or like that's not how it goes. But yeah, basically, there's a line that talks about how like everything that I was trying to look for in life, nah. But what I'm really truly looking for is you. And I feel like that's so much of my heart. Like I feel like I've gone to things, so much of what I've gone through and like what my testimony is, and I'm still looking for today is my identity. Obviously, I know the truth of my identity is in God, but you know, if I'm gonna be honest, I struggle with like just feeling enough and my identity. But that song just is like, I'm looking for you, God. And it puts it in perspective of just like, that's all I'm looking for. So that's my song.
I love that.
Heck yeah.
I love that.
Thank you. Well, final remarks. Is there anything that you'd want to say just to like end us off on this episode? Like any encouragements or something, if you had anything last to say?
Hold on to the gratitude that even in like a lowest season that you are like struggling to find, search for it. That will also like help you endure the storm. I can just say that because I just have a heart full. Oops, I just touched. I have a heart full of gratitude right now, just where I am and the people that have been brought into my life. That I can just say that, and I know that because I poured into those places, that God has answered. It helped me get over what I was going through more. So I would just say, and search for people that are fueling your soul and fueling your heart for God, however far along you are, whether you're just interested right now or if you're fully invested like we are. I feel like search for the people that show you purpose. Yeah.
Yeah. So much of my walk, and I think you heard it from Piper today, if it wasn't for people who were surrounded in their word or just invested in Christ, like, and then being like, okay, I'm not going to let that stay in me, but I'm going to go and express it and share it. So much of our faith is because of the people that God's put in our lives. And so seek those people, but also if you are in this point of where you're that person, go be that person and go invite, go be that for someone, go be the light that someone once was for you. So,
because you don't know the faith that you might spark in their heart too. I found God from a simple invitation to youth. Like, that's how I encountered my, like, that's just my first start to now this flame that is just so ignited. And if it weren't for that small little invite, that probably meant nothing to her at all, or didn't think it would mean anything crazy, I would not be in the position sitting in this chair right now, being able to just talk about my faith and my heart for worship. So one little invite can go a long way for somebody else.
heck yeah. Like she
Yeah.
said it. If she wasn't in her faith, she wouldn't be on the Brick House podcast.
It's a pretty great place to be.
Oh,
if you
yeah.
ask me.
Heck yeah. Maybe she'll come back on.
So
But thank you, Piper.
thank you.
Awesome. Well, love you guys. Heck yeah. Check her
yeah.
out. I'll put her Instagram down below. See ya. Bye.
Bye.